All right, we're live. Hello, dear Starshines. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. My name is Christina with Lightbody Academy, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'll pause right here while the rest of the crew get on board. Hello, dear sister Carol from Minnesota. Hello, Tony from Michigan. Beverly, hey girl, how you doing? And Wholeness, aka Daniela. Welcome, welcome, welcome from Southern Colorado. Good to have you guys here. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. We have abilities and perceptions that are not necessarily embraced by our larger human family. Therefore, we have extremely unique perspectives to us that we see going on around us. So I'm here to do to the best of my ability to provide a liberated perspective to these challenges, to these maybe perceptions or perspectives that we might get stuck in because of strong charges or maybe some shadow wounding or whatever. So sometimes, we're just in a particular way because we haven't thought of something, we haven't been exposed to something that's different. And this is actually one of the trademarks of a star seed, is that you only need the idea. You only need to hear the idea and it instantly triggers something within you and you wake up to something inside. So I'm happy to meet with you guys in these levels and talk about these pieces the way we do, so we can trigger, activate each other and support each other on this journey. I'm sure all of you guys can relate. It's so nice to know that you're not alone. You're not alone in how you're seeing things. You're not alone in your rather unique perspectives of what's going on in the world. Together, we support each other. Together, we inspire each other. Together, we facilitate each other. So, so I'm so happy to be here talking about these pieces with you. So what are we going to talk about today? There's a couple things. One is last week I went deep into consciousness grids and how it impacts us and stuff like this. And then a dear sister Starshine posted an excellent question on our YouTube channel. And I'm just going to, if I can get to it quickly, I want to read it real quick. Oops. And that is, it was, how do we counteract these grids? How do we counteract these grids that are getting anchored that in false light circumstances or false light geometry or however, whatever you want to label that. I know we all have our own labels for these things. So, um, uh-oh, are we still here? Yes, we are. Okay. I switched tabs. I couldn't tell. So I thought that was an excellent question, and I would love to pose that question to you guys as well. The other thing I want to talk about is a conversation that got started from a post that I originally posted it on my personal wall, and then a dear brother Starshine asked the question about, I'm curious about what this group here considers to be authentic. So I thought that was a great question. So I posted that to the groups at large. So I posted it to our Facebook group, the Rise of the Multidimensional Human Facebook group, and then I also posted it to our Telegram group, the Multidimensional Human Telegram group. And the particular post was, and let me draw it up real quick so I'm saying things right, because sometimes I don't paraphrase quite so accurately. So let me scroll down and say it exactly. It had to do with, let's focus on, let's stop striving to vibrate highly and start striving to vibrate authentically. And the question I posed to the group is, what does authentic mean to you? Now, we had a lot of very interesting responses, and we're welcome. You guys are welcome to continue the responses here. But first, I want to have you guys, if you have a response to the first question. The first question is, what can we be doing to counteract these grids that are getting anchored, perhaps by well-meaning people, but they're anchoring control system grids without realizing it? And this is that conversation that extended past the, the daisy of death versus the lotus of life. How do you guys Okay, are we back? What happened? Oh, are we back? We're back, yeah? Okay, we're back. Please let me know if we're back and you can see an image and of course sound, right? Please let me know that, and I'm going to make sure I close everything else that might be trying to use my bandwidth. How are we doing? How are we doing? Okay, I got an I see you. Okay, great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll give everybody a second to come back. I don't know what happened. My Wi-Fi is looking pretty good on this side, so I don't know. Who knows? Bots or elementals? What's going on? Thank you, Hodai. So good to see you. All right. Okay, here we are. So let me go back to posing that question. So I talked about those grid works and the control system matrices and all this stuff that well-meaning people often will go and anchor things. How do you believe or have you experienced ways? What are those ways to counteract what these grids that have been anchored, what they're doing? That I'm really curious. I think a lot of you already have an awareness and already do things, but I would also love for you to share that, and then other people can see where they're at in the spectrum, what you guys think and feel and how you perceive this to be, and then I'll also chime in with how ideas that I have on what we could be doing to counteract these false grids getting anchored. So please let me know. I know we're having some weird internet issues, so there's not so many folks here this time live. So okay, so all right. So Dear Wholeness Integration Mastery says, is there a way to transmute grids that already exist or that are currently being laid? Okay. Oh, okay. Welcome, Eva. She's just joining the Break Free channel with Eva Palikova. So right now I'm asking folks, what do they imagine they could be doing to counteract some of the consciousness grids that are anchored by well-meaning people, but maybe are anchoring other levels of control systems, like the daisy of death thing that we talked about versus the lotus of life, like that kind of thing. And then we have Dear Wholeness Integration Mastery is there a way to transmute these grids that already exist? I could say for on a personal level, absolutely, and they do get transmuted, and they are all right. So here's my take on this. We are all in this together. All of our frequencies are changing together. It's not just one person changing and everybody else is not. This is a transformation en masse. That means the frequency of the earth herself is changing. The frequency of the sun itself is changing. The frequency of the galaxy herself is changing. So that means it's a broad sweep, the kind of change that we're looking at, the kind of frequency shifting that we're looking at. And when things are not a frequency match, right? When things fall out of resonance, they're no longer supported on these different nesting doll layers of existence, and therefore they fall away. So there's that piece that, the outer, we'll just say, going to the galactic mind. Of course, we exist beyond the galactic mind, but I'll just start at that plane. The galactic mind is now in a different frequency, and it's shifting. It's no longer in the frequencies that it once was. That means all of the frequencies within that nesting doll no longer have the kind of sympathetic resonance support that it once had. Okay, so that means all those control systems that were built on that original frequency of the galactic mind is no longer being supported in the same way that it was. Okay, so there's that. But then you also have our sun. Our sun is having massive changes go on. The trend is supposed to be a slower CME cycle, I can't remember exactly what the scientists call it, but it's like a dip in the activity. That's how it's supposed to be doing right now. But our sun is doing the exact opposite. It's becoming extremely active. It's not every day now, but I think last month and the month before it was nearly every day we're having some kind of CME activity. We're still having a lot more CME activity and filament releases, and still all this uh, galactic winds and stuff like this. Emanating from our sun and in our solar rings. So that's having its impact. That's having an impact on our planet's magnetics, the electrical fields of our planet. Okay, even the very core of our planet, and this is measured via the Schumann resonance. Even the core of our planet is vibrating at a very different frequency than it once was. It was like a 7.2 was 7.75, 8 hertz. And now it's jumping. The baseline is like 24 hertz. And then it spikes all the way up to 200 hertz sometimes. Okay. So these frequencies are not in sympathetic resonance with a lot of these old grids, a lot of these old controlling consciousness grids. And that's part of why the shenanigans is happening, because this powers that be need a massive distraction. So, so they can, erect new grids that are going to be sustained, maintained. The trick is that the grids now that they anchor, we have to be in collusion with, we have to say yes to it. So we're being tricked into saying yes to certain frequencies that we normally would not if we weren't in a polarized state, a traumatized state, a fearful state, stuff like this. So there's a lot of activity and a lot of inertia that's allowing a lot of these grids to fall away. So many of them are going to fall away by themselves. But what about those ones that people are participating and holding in? Right? So I think this is more to the point of her question, is how do you transmute those grids? Okay, so one, you do the inner work so you're not a frequency match to those grids. When I say not a frequency match, that means you don't have an overarching yes for the thoughts and emotions that grid carries. Okay, and then you also don't have an extreme no. You don't have extreme aversion to the thoughts and emotions that those grid works carry. Because remember, that's the polarity game. How we collude with these games is that we choose a polarity side. But if we can be with the full spectrum of it, then we're not as susceptible. The magnetic isn't the same. We don't get drawn into it, and we're not magnetizing it to us. Okay. And then the piece beyond that is love and compassion. Love and compassion is the great elixir. It will shift everything. So that is having love, authentic. See, there's that word, authentic love and compassion for those participating in those grids. And remember, guys, just joining in, I've posed this question to you guys about how do you imagine what we could be doing to counteract the grids that are getting anchored by other humans and non-humans alike. And I'm going through some pieces right now. Okay, just joined. Happy good Okay. All right. Technical stuff again. Thank you, Tony, for letting me know I froze. Please let me know if I came back. Getting back to the question that Eva posed, if that got broadcasted. She asked, is there a video, or she wants to understand what these grids are. So we're talking about fourth dimensional consciousness grids that impact our being consciously and subconsciously. And the previous chat and the chat before that, I started going into these pieces. I really broke it down in the last chat of how specifically these grids impact our consciousness. Okay, thank you for letting me know I'm back. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so that took almost a whole hour to explain, so I can't do it again here. But I do encourage you to check out last week's chat, episode 73, where I go much deeper into the grid work conversation. Okay. Okay, let me go back to where were we? Hi, Cosmic One. Good to see you, dear Sherry. Is it like collective set of belief systems? Yes, collective set of belief systems are all right. So a collective set of belief systems is an electromagnetic signature that exists in our brain and our bodies. And when you have a bunch of people that share a belief system, it creates a collective resonance. Okay, and that's within the 4D field. But then what happens is that a grid works gets anchored to hold that resonance in place. So even if people fall out of that belief system, like they no longer believe it's so, it holds it in place, so it's still informing their subconscious. It's still informing them in some way that they don't realize. So grids work in conjunction with belief systems. Okay. All right, all right, all right, all right. So let's get back to. Okay, thank you for those questions. Thank you, thank you. All right, let me get back to thumbs up, Master. Thank you. There are some. Yeah, maybe Tony. Tony's saying maybe someone doesn't really want you to talk about this. Yes, yes, yes. All right, then. All right. So, do we play a part in? All right, here we go. Do we play a part in dismantling the grids by not participating energetically? Yes, absolutely. The trick is understanding how you're participating, so you even know what to choose differently. And this is where a lot of the confusion is, because we will say something like, "Oh, well, that's theirs and not my problem." Okay, and so we have this sickness in Western society where we believe we're an island. We believe that our personal will or our personal identity is what I have to work on in order to be a healthy, well, um, healed human. And the fact is, that's not true. Your wellness has to do with your connection with you, who you are as an individual, in connection with the collective. And this is where a lot of the poisoning has come in, because there's a lot of things anchored in our collective that are like crimes against our soul, offensive to our soul. So we often have to make that choice, follow what my inner voice is saying, or fit in with the collective. Okay. And this is why spiritual masters, immortal masters, those gurus, retreat to high up in the mountains. So they're above the collective grid work, so they can work within themselves. But their self-work isn't just about them. It might start off that way, but eventually what happens, they now begin to radiate their love and their consciousness out into the world, out into the collective. And their whole purpose now begins, or is, to serve humanity. Okay. So we get that teaching kind of bass backwards. You have to serve humanity in order Okay, we're back. Thank you for bearing with me, guys. We just have to go with it. We just have to go with it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ah, yes, yes. Surrender, surrender, surrender. Thank you, Eva. Yeah, totally, right. Okay, these are great questions. These are really great pieces to go into. All right. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. So, dear sister Eva is saying this didn't make sense. All right, it's back. All right, I'm going to take a step back and listen to my heartbeat, tune back into my rhythms. Here we are, we're back. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. So just invite everybody to dial into your rhythms, get behind your eyes. Maybe what we don't realize sometimes is that we also have influence with electronics. So I'm just dialing it in, dialing it in. Okay. Thank you. All right. Kind of lost the thread I started going on. It was, oh yeah, the things we could be doing to counteract or even transmute and transform these grids. So there's things where we are doing personally, and then there's the things that are happening on a planetary level, a solar level, stellar level, galactic level. Okay. Now, of course, the galactic, stellar, solar, planetary, we don't have, our will doesn't really have anything to do with that other than doing what we need to do to be integrated and in harmony with the frequencies of the moment. Okay, the frequencies of the moment, right? So that's our job as humans, because as we do our work that we need to do to be in harmony with the frequencies of the moment, we are expanding our consciousness. We are letting go of the distortions and stepping into the truth of who we really are. Okay. And I don't mean who you think you are, like, I don't mean what the ego driver thinks it is. I'm talking about the truth of who you really are on a soul level. Okay. Your the purpose of why your spirit is waking up every day and getting up out of bed, that level of truth of who you are. Okay. And this is leads us into that next leg of conversation where I did that post about focusing on vibrating in your authenticity versus high vibe. Okay. And some people, there were a few responses. Let me see if I can pull them up. There were a few responses where people said, well, authenticity is high vibe. And I can totally see why some people would perceive that. Can you guys relate? Would authenticity be high vibe? And that's a brilliant, I think that's a brilliant perspective. A lot of people maybe this is a new thought for them. I know when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, Yeah, when I think about it, that totally works for me. And I love to thank you guys for all of the feedback you gave on what you thought authenticity was, because I learned a lot by listening. I learned a lot by reading through and seeing what each of you had to say. Now, there is no right or wrong in these circumstances, okay? There is no right or wrong. It all depends, exactly, Beverly. It all depends where you are authentically, okay? Now, the big piece to why authentically is a thing is because it's about accepting the truth about yourself, okay? And this is where the conditioning, especially in the Western world, the conditioning has really backfired. A lot of people don't know what their truth is. They have their story of who they think they are. They have the reflection of what people have shown them, who they should be, who they want them to be, who they need to be in order to be loved, who they need to be in order to feel like they're respected, right? But that's not really the truth of who you are. So if you can master one thing in your life, it would be the truth. Accept the truth of who you are. That would be the big piece, because the truth is powerful. It melts boundaries. It melts illusions so strongly. There's a reason why in the higher dimensional echelons, the truth is depicted as a sword, not because it's meant to be a weapon. It's because it can cut through the illusion so quickly and so clearly. Okay. Yes, 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 yes. I love it. Ah, I'm speaking to the crier. Yeah, yep, yep, yep. Tell and accept the truth. It's hard sometimes to tell the truth because a lot of people don't want to know the truth, or people ask for the truth, and then once they get it, they don't want it. Right? That happens too. So, so I want to share just a few of these pieces that were mentioned. There was one particular comment, and this is our dear brother Jimmy. Right? He has a very absolute way, and that could just be the way his personality is. It could be, you know, his upbringing or whatever. But he had a very black and white kind of understanding of authenticity, and his response was, authenticity is having zero distortions in your blueprint. Okay. Now, just let those words land. Zero, what does zero distortions in the blueprint? How does that feel? How does that feel to you? For some people, they might be like, "Oh yeah, right on. That's what I'm going towards. That's what I'm, you know, wild horses can't keep me away from being in my pure blueprint." Some people may really feel that way, or and maybe really are there in that place. Okay? Okay. Ah, okay. So now you're getting into the shades of gray. So this is Eva saying you can't have zero distortions if you are human. Now, is that a truth or is that a belief? What is that? We don't know. So yeah, we decide for ourselves, right? That could be true. I think there is many people that are in this boat that she's saying that, well, you know, if I'm human and I have an ego driver and I have wounding and I have this and that, and therefore my blueprint can't be without distortions. Okay. But if you take what I said, if you take what I said about the truth and add that into the mix, you know, maybe our blueprint isn't distorted. It's just maybe some of those more inner layers of nesting dolls have distortions, right? I'm saying maybe, and I'm not claiming to know it all. I'm just giving perspective here. This is for all of us to share thoughts and ideas and perspective. You know, we're triggering aha moments for each other, right? All right, dear young trip named Jim, welcome. When I became truth, I stopped having anything to say about anybody else's truth. Ah, okay. So there's a perspective. So once you have become your own truth, and I believe when you say become, oh, was I gone for a moment? Okay. I believe when they say become, you mean that truth, you're able to allow truth to resonate within your being, like radiate. That's what I imagine you mean. Okay. And then, and also, dear sister Starshine also said something about Okay. The zero blueprint would be an ideal, but she says that she imagines our level of distortions would take many, many years to dissolve before we can access our true blueprint, question mark. I'm curious about this. Can we talk specifics? And then she asked me to chime in. Okay. So, uh-oh. No, you were here. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, great. What if everything that we're going through, hijacked consciousness and all, is just perfect? Does there reaction to that thought? What if every trial and tribulation of our lives, lifetimes, existences are just perfect the way they are exactly the way we intended it to be on a higher level? What if that is true? Okay, yeah, thank you, Eva. Yeah, yeah. Okay, what if that's true? Would that change? Would that change any of these perspectives that we hold? Okay, yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. All right, okay, okay. Some people like that idea. It might. We'll see if anybody doesn't like that idea. Okay. So yeah, okay. So I believe young trick named Jim is elaborating about the previous question here, and also this one is like every single thing that happens in and through me is literally perfect. Yes, we play our roles so perfectly for each other, even when those roles are as a perpetrator, as a victim, as a savior. So even these disempowerment roles, right, are perfect. Young trick named Jim says, I wanted to make a hat that instead of saying we the people, it says we the perfect. I literally was just thinking that yesterday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. I think a lot of people misunderstand what that means. See, because people see things as they are, not actually how they truly are. Right. And it takes a lot of skill and conversing and conversation and listening to be able to sort out just misunderstandings or things that people think are a certain way, but actually in the other person thinks it's completely different. Then there's a lot of work that needs to happen to get the minds to meet. The will needs to be there. Both parties need to understand that they're seeing things as they are they willing, or I'm saying they're seeing things as they are they willing to see how it truly is, right? That's something that both parties need to be saying yes to. So there's that sort of thing. So I'm in the boat that authenticity is a spectrum that we work towards. And my personal experiences that bring me to this place is that growing up as an empath, okay, I made myself wrong all the time because I would get feelings from people that didn't match their words. I would get the sense of someone being in a particular state, like say they were angry, but they were wearing a smile and acting really kind and gentle, you know? So I definitely learned from a very young age to make all those intuitive data sets wrong. There's something wrong with me, right? I turned it into a me problem. It wasn't until later I realized that people weren't being authentic. They were having a feeling, but they couldn't be in the truth of that feeling. So they would say and act the exact opposite of what they were radiating in their energy and in their feelings, in their bodies. So it took a while for me to realize I was not being an authentic person. Matter of fact, I had no idea who I really was. I had no idea what my truth was. I had no idea, and that was an amazing, amazing journey. I just and it was so humbling because I realized all the stories I told about myself were not the truth. I maybe wanted them to be the truth because it was comfortable, right? it was comfortable, these stories, because that fit the collective view, but it really wasn't the truth. And how I learned, with the unraveling, that barometer of happiness, that, the more happy you are, the more true you are to yourself. This is what I realized. There's a direct connection to those things. All right, dear Sister Eva says, my current view, all the craziness, wounds, hurts, distortions, is to get us to compassion and love. Yes, 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 absolutely. Here, let's share that one because that's great. So that was another comment that a dear Sister Starshine, I think it was you, Sherry, that said that compassion and love is our authentic self, right? So compassion and love. The thing is, we have all these distortions in between compassion and love, right? We have all these stories of things. We have all these blame games that we don't even realize we participate in sometimes. I actually, I watch people sometimes act with really low levels of integrity and blame other people for why they're lowering their standards of integrity. It's like, that's not authentic. That's an ego driver story that's being played out, and perpetrator, and there's this perpetrator game getting acted out, right? So staying in a place of love and compassion is ideal, and we're not always there, right? We're not always there. Doesn't mean we need to make those other thoughts and feelings wrong, because remember, it's not about your thoughts and feelings being wrong or right. It's about what is the truth. The truth for me is I'm really frustrated with this right now, right? The truth for me is that I am having a reaction right now, okay? And here's an example of the difference. So in our academy, we have these, we track together in groups, right? And there are, spectrums of skill sets within each group. So people who have been there for a while, we understand, and you guys probably understand this too, that it's much easier to be the person outside looking in, right? It's much easier to see things within other people than it is to see it within yourself. Can you guys agree with that? Okay. And especially when you're tracking, it's much easier to track another person than it is to track yourself a lot of the times. So we rely on the group perspective. So the group tracking the same energy will give many different kinds of perspectives. Now, if you're showing up authentically, right, someone might share a perspective and it might trigger you. You might be like mad about it. Like, I don't, well, and so an inauthentic response is getting mad at that person for saying it, for sharing it, for, making them wrong in what they shared, right? But an authentic response is, wow, what you just said right there really just pissed me off. I'm like having a huge reaction to what you said right there. Matter of fact, I want to make you completely wrong. Okay. Do you see how the way I'm sharing that? It's like I'm completely owning my truth without making the other person the perpetrator. You see what I mean? And when you share that way, that gives us great big juicy data sets to work with. Now we can track into the anger. We can track into what that part inside of us that wants to make it wrong. Okay. And if it's versus if you get triggered and then come to all these conclusions, this person's wrong, this person didn't see me, this person did this person did that. It's boom, 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 boom. And then then all of a sudden now you're going to start saying, oh well, I'm just not aligned with this. Right? That's the ego driver way out. I'm just not aligned with this anymore. So this truth piece is the big tool to help you dig deep and really be comfortable in your authenticity. Not only be comfortable in it, but actually be empowered by it. Okay? You can be empowered by your triggers when you own them. When you own your triggers, they empower you in a big, big way. Okay? Even if you don't know what to do with it, they can empower you. It's really potent to be witnessed in your trigger owning it. When having other people hold space and witness you owning it, that is a really powerful piece too in all this. So I guess what I'm saying, it's boiling down from my perspective, that authentic piece is more about the willingness to know the truth, even if it's a scathing truth. Okay, whatever that truth is, it's so I want it. I want it. Okay, hear what Eva says. Oh, I'm out of alignment. The ultimate way out. If I had a penny. Oh, I know, right? Yeah. I mean that's a key piece. I mean that's totally a red flag. But believe me, when I've said that about it, or when you've said that about something, we definitely believed it full on in that moment, right? We did. We believe it full on, right? Until we don't. And the reason why it's so until we don't is because there's a part of us that's saying yes to the truth, to something else that maybe isn't that of what we think is, right? So the problem with striving to be high vibe all the time is that you create aversions. You create aversions to things that aren't joyful, aversions to things that that bring uncomfortableness or heaviness or whatever. And it's because we're not in touch with the power of our own being, with our beingness, our very beingness, witnessing, acknowledging, transforms things. Okay. Now, if it's a lie and you're acknowledging a lie, or whatever the truth that's the lie that's masquerading as the truth, acknowledging that, tiny bit of movement, not big movement. But when you have a big truth being acknowledged, it's powerful. It transforms, and it transforms pretty quickly. Sometimes it's instantaneous. We do that. We have the capability of doing that for each other. And it makes us much stronger and solid in our bodies. We don't retreat so much when adversity starts to present. And, I'm really appreciating the process of learning how to collaborate. So we have other facilitators at the Academy, and we collaborate, and it's really a lot of fun because we get to see how each person has a very different perspective on how to unwind something. And it's not about good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just that we get to see all these different ways of unwinding a blind spot. There's many different ways to unwind a blind spot. And, when we work in groups, subconsciously, we actually start to learn from each other how blind spots get unwound. Some people go directly into the quantum. Boom, that's how they track. Some people go deep into the emotional field. Other people are really good at going into the structural levels, like they can go to the blueprint levels of things, So it all, and it's not that any one is better than the other. It's just, all of them are data sets of the same piece that we're tracking. And a lot of healers aren't comfortable with that. I've experienced in the past. We used to work in pods. There was another group that I was a part of. Well, there are several groups I've been a part of where we've tracked in pods. But when I first was introduced to it many years ago, back in 2002, what that was, there were a lot of groups that didn't work well together because people couldn't allow or accept the different kinds of data sets that were coming up. There was a lot of conflict. It takes the spirit of cooperation, the spirit that nobody's right or wrong. Everybody is contributing, and the ones that the valuable contributions are the ones that take us all deeper. It's not just one person deeper that takes us all deeper, So that changes the collaboration. So now we're all looking into data sets that bring us somewhere. Like if you have data sets that are just in the mental field or in the ego driver, it's a loop and you're on a hamster wheel at that point, and that's not going to get us anywhere. That's just running the hamster wheel. Okay. So there's a lot of different spectrums to this. So you guys let me know if you're with me, if you're with me, what I'm talking about. About this authenticity piece. Did I miss something? Is there something more that I need to dive into with that? While we wait, I'll also mention thank you guys for all your kind words from the Telegram group. I posted in the Telegram group some feedback about my liver cleanse that I was doing. I don't know if you guys remember last week I was doing a GI tract cleanse before my liver cleanse. And I'm doing that just out of my personal process. I feel like I really needed to clean up. I just want to thank everybody. Just the love, the blessings, and kinds words that you guys had to share, because my liver cleanse did not really, to me, did not really go so well. It's like I didn't really eliminate as much as I was hoping. All right, trick named Jim says, when I stopped striving to vibe high, I was suddenly automatically vibing high for nearly all my waking hours. It became my normal state of being with very little that caused me to descend. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, wholeness. Thank you. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so yeah, trying. So maybe there's another word we can introduce to folks to look at it a little bit differently than trying, maybe allowing. Maybe there's, this new paradigm brings a lot of new rules of reality with it. So a lot of the old, language that we use to describe things kind of lose its relevancy or lose its accuracy, you know. This is why, new terms spread like wildfire through the realms, or through humanity, because once you get a new term that really hits the nail on the head, everybody will start using it. Everybody will start using it. And it's really cool, like the inner standing, instead of understanding because of the other connotations, inner standing. So now a lot of people are using the inner standing, that like spread like wildfire through the multidimensional world. Concepts like ego driver, it so paints the picture that just like wildfire through the multidimensional world, of humans. So sometimes it's just a matter of choosing a better language to express what we're trying to say, because nuances can be misleading of other words. All right, dear, let's see where we're going. Oh, Polly, you're back. Yep. All right, Eva says, yes, I want to learn more tracking and unwinding people's blind spots. Is that QRS or how? Oh, okay. So QRS is first, that's learning how to create a quantum reality shift within your own life. So that's personal work. And you learn good energetic hygiene techniques, like in the foundations and stuff like this. And then the next step into the personal work and learning about the beginning of tracking is the Dreamtime work, right? And that's what I invite you guys into a lot, is the Dreamtime Healing Project. And then HAL is where you really dive into the tracking. HAL is all about tracking, a matter of fact, and you're tracking a lot of things. You're learning on how to bring data sets up so you don't have to dig. You're learning how, like, the difference between interdimensional data sets versus things that are purely in the human emotional realm. You learn how to track AI. You learn how to track insectoid. You learn how to track everything that comes across your way. And well, I guess the big piece would be that how to be in the unknown while you're tracking. That is the big piece that trips 99% of healers up. The unknown is not a comfortable place, and it creates a sense of instability, vulnerability, and maybe that contradicts with some belief systems they have on what it is to hold space or whatever in different ways. And they prefer to stay in the realm of the known. They prefer to stay in the realm of what they have already experienced. So this is where, and not that those healers aren't good healers. They are, because they are using the encodements they already have and embodied themselves to help other people. But what we're teaching is a whole nother ball game. A whole nother ball game of tracking. This is like how to get into the unknown. What happens is that you become an unstoppable tracker. You become unstoppable. The unknown doesn't stop you. Okay? Being new territory isn't something that intimidates you. You go after it anyway, because you know how to hold your state of being to allow these data sets to come forward. And then not only that, once the data sets are presenting, you can shift your consciousness really quickly to the place of the solution, where what exactly needs to happen to dissolve what you're tracking. Okay. Yeah, it's an art. It's definitely an art. And I would say not everybody is up for this. Not everybody's up for it. But those who are up for it, it totally transforms everything, changes everything. And that's why I also overlap this with exospecies communications, because communicating with ETs, interdimensional beings, with the Fey realm, introducing this, having these kinds of relationship, it requires that level of being able to be in the unknown, because they are their consciousness is so extraordinarily different than from our perspective and where we come from in the human experience. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Wholeness integration says, oh, here, let me post this first. Okay. Thank you for that. Wholeness says, our teacher says, do nothing, just watch, stop traveling. That's what trying is, being. Just being feels like for me. Yeah, just being. Yeah. So there's a fine line. There's a fine line with that. What I would say trying is, that's when you're going out to travel, right? Traveling to get information. When you're tracking, and what I'm talking about, you're in your rhythms, you're in your body. You might be super expanded in your consciousness, right? But you're in your body, and the data is coming to you. Everything's just coming, just presenting, just showing itself. And you're holding, yep, and you're just holding space and seeing this. And it gets a little more complex when you have a person that you're tracking, because they can participate in that tracking and accelerate the tracking. And so it's also another level of art form on how to ask the right questions or share the right information, so it triggers something within them, so they start showing you more and more and more from even deeper levels. So yeah, it's definitely a wisdom that has to be experienced. You can't tell someone and say, these are the markers, this is what it looks like. It has to be an experience. All right, wholeness integration mastery says, the difference between getting somewhere and being somewhere, allowing versus striving. There we go. Very good. All right. Yeah. All right. And then Eva says, oh yes, I have no clue how to track anything, but at all, but that totally speaks to me. Yes. See. Yes. See, I mean, it's a selective, self-selective kind of thing. All right. Young trip named Jim says, wholeness mastery. I'm with that. Yes. What she said about allowing versus striving. Yes. Very good. Thank you. So, and remember, we're in a time of transition. We're in the time of going from an old paradigm, an old set of rules of reality. Okay. I'm talking about all these nesting dolls that create our here and now reality. All those nesting dolls are shifting. Okay. So the actual rules of reality are changing. Okay. So we're in this time of transition. So this way of tracking and healing and doing all these things that have come from our lineages over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, through lineages, through mystery schools, through initiatory experiences, right? They're going to have the relevancy until they don't. And the threshold is when more of these alternate universe realities, let's say, start to integrate within the body. Those old paradigm ways are going to start losing the relevancy, and then we're going to start gravitating towards these other pieces. Okay, so in this way, I encourage everybody, just look at it. It's not about right or wrong at all. It's just noticing, noticing these layers of frequencies. Just like, it's just that things are framed up where we, right or wrong, it has to be right or wrong, right? Things are framed up like they have to be this or that, and that's not true. And another example is, climate change, right? We're told, well, the inconvenient truth, the Al Gore hypothesis, that this is why climate change is happening. It's because we have too many emissions, we're destroying our environment, we're doing this, we're doing that, okay? So that is a hypothesis. That is a theory of why these things are happening. Okay. And that is a very linear mind understanding of the changes going on. And of course, humans rape the earth, right? Humans don't take their custodialship of this reality seriously. That's all true. So this, in this way, on a deep way, in a very deep level, humans are ripe to accept that kind of hypothesis, to accept that kind of story. Okay. But if you look at it in another way, in a multidimensional way, and you realize that we are in the middle of a cycle, a long cycle, a cycle that has been unfolding for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So it's not about ending emissions or stopping this kind of behavior or transitioning into green or recycling, though all those could be part of the solution, right? It's about changing our attitude to, instead of one who sees the earth and her resources as commodity, we see the earth and her resources as something we are to be a custodian of. Okay, we are a caretaker of all of this. And when we do that, there is no blame game of what's happening in the moment. We do what is necessary for growth to happen, for life to happen. See, so when you look at it less in that we're destroying the environment, human is a cancer on the planet, we're doing this, greed is killing everybody, you know, all these little pieces, and you can feel how that gets in the body, and you step out of that and realize we are in this huge cycle. We have been working up to this point for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Okay, it's an it's a paradigm shift that's going on. It's not, you know, taxing and changing this. You know, we can't reverse the change. If you Does anybody believe that you can reverse the change here? Does anybody believe you can actually reverse the ecological changes that are happening? I'm just curious. There's no reverse in my view where we're at. There's no reversing it. It's working with what we have. Okay, it's doing what we need to do to make sure we all have what we need. Okay, need to thrive. What does life need to flourish? You see what I mean? That's it. Uh-huh. Oh, thank you, Eva. I love that. She says, I want to be a master tracker. Well, there you go. Yeah, this is definitely a path for you if that's something that totally turns you on. Some people really get turned on. Some people really get turned on, and other people are like, you know. All right, young trick named Jim says there's no verse, and there doesn't need to be. No reverse. Oh, no reverse, and there doesn't need to be. Yeah, right. That's so. So you're awake. You're awake out of that, out of the other kind of narrative. Yeah. So it's like we either step up and take responsibility for the reality, that for life of the reality we're in, or we don't. We take responsibility, humanity's going to flourish. We don't, we're not going to be here anymore much longer. It's really that simple, and it's that perfect. Alrighty. Oh boy, time just goes by so fast. Oh man. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here and being a part of this conversation. I really appreciate, talking on these levels. If you do want to Thank you, Tony. Thank you. So, if you guys are interested in starting to cultivating these abilities to go into the unknown, and the other thing I didn't say is that, once you are able to dismantle a lot of these distortions in the 4D field, you can actually step into a capacity of dreaming your world into being. That means you already start creating the reality you want in dream time, and then it filters through your being and happens in the here and now. Okay, that's what the ancestors call dreaming the world into being. So that's like an added benefit to this work. So if this is interesting to you, we have the Dreamtime Healing Project. I encourage you guys to check that out. And then our Healer Acceleration Lab is on break for the summer. So we're having our live workshop next month, and it's already full. But the Dreamtime Healing Project is a place to get started and get rolling. So when Healer Acceleration Lab comes back in September, you'll be, primed to really jump in a big way. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Love you all. Mwah. We shall see you next time. And until then, dream big. Have fun. Love each other. And definitely wish everybody around you the best day ever. Thank you. Thank you.